So just organising all the zinc bits into individual groupings. Now lots of this is sort of pick from it as you get to it. It's almost pointless labelling it up, because our knowledge over the years has told us that we know what is what, and it might sound a bit bizarre and a bit show-offy or boasting, but you know, the fixings, for example, I haven't even gone and researched that. I know that is the 100mm ones. They end in 343, the part number. That'd be the outer trailing arm ball joint where the spring arm touches it. Those are the 386s for the trailing arm bolts where the rear trailing arm goes in. Let's see if I notice anything else. So there's 6 of those. That's probably for the prop shaft. That'd be definitely for the diff, because that's the only M14 available, and the new upgraded rear ones there. They'll probably, if there's 12 of those, that's the 652s. There shouldn't be that many, so I don't know why there's that many, but we can look into that. We got the 227 top hats. Can't remember the number of them. 345 possibly. That's the gearbox cross member ones. Loads of 150 BMW genuine speed clips. That's the 199s. That's the ones I was thinking about instead of those. These are the ones that are unique and are on the front reinforcement plates. There's 12 of those, and there's 4 of those normally, because you have 4 of them on the front control arm bushes, and then 3 of them for the V-brace. It's exactly the same number. Obviously those are for the anti-roll bar drop links on the rear. That might be the front, the rear shock ones, which I think are 402. Those are grub screws, which are either 072 or 806. I can't remember which one. That's the 101s, which are the socket cap bolts for the rear anti-roll bar brackets. There's loads of, I don't know why there's so many of those. There's only 4 of those we need. Sometimes they come in minimum quantities. That's the funny thing about BMW. One of the mad things when we were doing the M3 touring conversion for Auto Alex, needed a door moulding clip. It needed one. Minimum issue 50. Yeah, cheers BMW, 50. So sometimes that's where you get loads of, might answer why we got loads of those, for example, and more of those than we need. Sometimes it's minimum orders, 15, 20, 25. And the same if you see it on your invoice, whether you come to us or whether you go anywhere else. If you see something that you think, oh, that's a bit weird, well, it's possibly because that was the only way we could get it. Those are 386s, I'm sure of it. That's for the the ABS sensors on the front, from memory. The front ones are bulky and need a longer one, and the rear ones are a lot thinner. I seem to remember them being the same as the S54 inner cam hub bolts. I can't remember what they are, 586 or something like that, the little new Torx ones. That's obviously brake pipe joiners, which are the factory ones. That's gearbox plugs that are zinced. Those are the 136s, the heat shield clips to hold the wiring loom in. I can't get over how cool this stuff is and how nice it feels. It is literally squeaky clean. I absolutely love zinced fixings. What else we got? Long reach. These are really rare because they're not listed on the catalogue. If you look at an E46 M3, the front reinforcement plate, which is actually that bad boy over there, the 3 across the back, is it, or is it the front? I can't remember. One of them, they can't have those normal zinc ones, which is what the self-tappers go into. They have to have long reach ones, and we found them years ago, and those are the ones that you need to get them all correct. That's bumper brackets. Some cars and clients want them on, some don't. That's the rear ones. They're a bit of a controversial thing, because if you screw them on, just like the factory, you will break seam sealer, so you enter into a risky area. So some people don't have them, some people do. A leftover spare brake pipe one. That reminds me of the rear carbon canister bracket. Those are gear shift. That's manual only. They don't even need to be in this because it's a CSL, it's an SMG. That's a fuel tank one. Those are the 971s, which are used normally at the front, like the oil cooler area and things like that. They're probably 517s, which hold on the rear flexi line little brake pipe flexi brackets. What else we got? Loads of little cool clips and stuff like that. We think the exhaust clamp kit as well. Yeah, we got loads of stuff. The bracket, that's aluminium, so that can't be zinc. That's for the gearbox under tray. And then we've got stuff that we're actually about to work on shortly. So we've got drive shaft ones by the look of it. They've modified these as well in recent times, because these little washers, they started using them out of a really poor metal BMW. I know it sounds bizarre, but it's true. and these start twisting and ripping as soon as you tighten them up. Now they've got serrated teeth, that's how you know they're the drive shaft ones, underneath the head. I know it's not focused very well. That's what defines them as the drive shaft ones rather than the exhaust downpipe ones, which look identical. But they grip so much on this new style of metal that BMW have been using that they actually twist and open. So lots of people have found that problem over the last few years and either reverting to use their old ones, or now, I understand, this month they have upgraded them to the E90 stuff, which I think is also the prop shaft one. So we'll see how they go. It may be that we need to change those. That's the prop shaft ones. Those look like the ones for the front, 2 bushes for the rear subframe, some spare nipples, which must be for the rear. Those definitely, those castellated nuts are for the prop. Don't ask me the numbers. That's 668s, which are really commonly used, M12 by 1.5 flange locking nuts for the rear axle assembly every year. Those look like the 2 for the prop shaft centre bearing. What are those? Can't think of those at the top of my head. Yeah, loads of little bits and bobs. That's the ones, they're cool. They're the ones that go on the trailing arm. Again, they come black from BMW, but we have them zinced just to make them last longer. And then all this stuff gets waxed as well. So the threads get fixed. You know, when we're putting threads in, BMW assemble everything dry, but we put either a little bit of nickel anti-seize paste or some form of lubrication to make them go in nice, but also make sure they'll come out and be serviceable in future years. But then once they're in, and you can't see the thread, the head is exposed, and sometimes the tip of the bolt is exposed, poking out the other side of whatever you've put it into. So then we use like a clear, what would you call it? Well, transparent wax, just to give them an extra form of coating. It doesn't last forever. We recommend getting that transparent wax topped up every year when the car comes back for a little check over, and top up the protection wax underneath. That's just a good way of protecting zinc fixings, because it doesn't cost a great amount to actually zinc it. It's a few £100 to zinc. And this isn't all of them. As you can see, a lot of them are fitted on the car already, but I forget how many hundreds and hundreds of fixings there is on each car that we zinc. That bit of it doesn't cost much. It cost well over £1,000 to get all these brackets. Bear in mind, it's not just nuts and bolts and things like this. It's brackets, like these exhaust ones are crazy to get these new from BMW. If you want to start fresh, we put a video on YouTube once before showing the difference between starting with new BMW metal fixings and brackets and zinking them versus using your old rusty ones and zinking and fixing them, and the finishes are phenomenally different. And so therefore we buy new, unless a customer requests us not to, but we tend to buy new. And just these nowadays, these are the reinforcement brackets that go over the rear exhaust silencer on the E46 M3, and they fit other models as well, E39 M5s and some other models as well. I'm sure I did a video on Instagram, on our reels. Go over, if you're not following us on Instagram, go and find us now at Redish Motorsport. But these are nuts. They're like £100 each nowadays. So 3 of them, 300 quid. Yeah, so it's the price of buying all these fixings and brackets. And remember, it's not just nuts and bolts. These bolts here, right, these are over £10 each. And yeah, there's 12 of them. So it's another 120 quid just to fix your drive shaft in with new bolts. Similar for the prop shaft, similar for the brackets, they're like £6 each. You know, it easily adds up, and most people wouldn't even believe it if I said it costs over £1,000 to get all these brackets and fixings, but it's because it's not just nuts and bolts, it's intricate, weird stuff that BMW love to charge an arm and a leg for. So that's the best way to do it. But then on top of that, then you've got a few £100 for the zinking, but it's worth protecting it, because putting a bit of extra love into it when you build it with lubrication on the threads, so they'll be serviceable in another 20 years time, and protection coating around the heads and the exposed parts goes a long way. It really does help. These are the CSL specific, I think they're 102. They're wider, the camber, rear camber bolts, which gives you more adjustment than you would do on a normal 853 E46 version, and therefore they've got a wider washer. They still got the 668 nut because it's an M12 by 1.5 bolt, but those are CSL unique or specific. I think they come from the E39 if I remember correctly. These used to be no longer available. These are the brackets for the handbrake console, or what the handbrake cable comes through at the rear trailing arm, and also what the handbrake shoes butt up against, that nice solid bit of cast there. Now they used to be no longer available, but they are back now, which is great, so we can put those in. And there's 2 versions of these, different part numbers, but they look identical. They're the same as the rear anti-roll bar drop link ones that hold the brackets in, and you Probably doesn't matter if you get them wrong. I was going to say you must get them right, but we tend to get them right because one's got a red mark on it before we zinc it, one hasn't. There's the new handbrake shoes, which again, a genuine BMW we use, and we even go this far, as sad as it might be, we just love it. Handbrake shoe kit, which is all zinc. You cannot buy them zinced. We have to send everything meticulously, order it up front, unbag it, count it, catalogue it, decide what, if anything's got a little bit of plastic in it, obviously can't be zinced, or we have to separate it, like the fuel pipe bracket ones. We zinc them, take them out piece by piece, and then somebody obviously has to then reassemble it. That's a three-piece part there. And these adjusters, because these adjusters are normally seized like mad. These are the handbrake adjusters, what the cable pulls on, and they only move a tiny bit, like that much, and that action there pushes against the shoe to just bite it up against the inside of the disc. And all this pivot assembly here is normally always corroded, so you never would use your old ones. But look, that's a new one, completely free and well protected, so that the rust will not attack it in the future. Still got some some powder coat stuff to unpack down here. There's the trailing arms, nothing different on a CSL for them. We've also got the fuel tank brackets here. We've got exhaust system center and cats there, CSL unique, because obviously this is CSL that came from. There's the 247 bushes for the inner of the rear upper spring arms, the fuel filter cover, the gearbox cross member I was just talking about, and what else we got? Yeah, the V-brace and the other items like the front reinforcement plate. So lots still to do, and that just gives you a little insight into the detail and the time that it takes to do a real Redish Motorsport underside restoration on the E46 M3 CSLs.